Hi, and welcome to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Friday, October the 24th, 2025.
And I would also love to share for any guidance or suggestions on a new unfolding.
Oh, go for it. That's always intriguing and amazing.
Okay. Yeah, as I expressed on Sunday in the course, there's thawing and a deeper willingness to engage in life, but from a
I thought that
more
idea of thawing, that you labeled that thawing, was powerful. That's such an on target way to express what happens when the non-being mind begins to dissolve.
Oh, okay, that's encouraging.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
right on track.
it's like a willingness that comes from that thawing that it's always safe, even though that doesn't fully land. But it's always safe because all I'm doing is meeting myself.
Yes, and in the past, the unthawed self is all of that which was never safe at the point where it was being experienced from the unthawed self. But now that you're experiencing it from the thawed self, it's like, oh, here's my stuff. It changes everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this, the work that I've been doing through what you've been offering has really enabled what feels like a barrier that I wasn't able to find. I mean, I believe I wasn't quite ready, but I wasn't able to
Right.
find in my seeking over these decades that I did a lot of writing and exploring about blame. But even though, like, when I first started the Course in Miracles, I was 17, and you can only get what you can get.
Yes.
And I still, from the maturation from my own mind energy that I held, couldn't grasp that there was no separation to the point that the harshest parts of my life could be me meeting me. Like, that was unfathomable.
Right.
So that
Yeah, the
still,
denial and dissociation is profoundly powerful.
uh-huh.
And we're all brought up in it. I mean, that's our culture. We're just like, we're put in the soup pot of denial and dissociation, and it's so effective, and hence why it's shocking when you start to, and why a lot of people turn and run. And I acknowledge you for not turning and running, but to just keep moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
because it's everything that has been resolved in generations and generations and generations.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Um, which I know, like, has been really difficult, because in what I was experiencing as the most enlightened oneness of my life, where there was this 360-degree view that was happening. It's really difficult to put into words, but where I didn't know, but I felt at one with everything and could see how even a branch moving, we were moving together. Like, I could feel the interconnectedness, and there was simply nothing but. And then in that most, in what felt like enlightened or heightened sensory experience that I'd had for those about 2 years, then to have a few situations happen again was more destabilizing than the hundreds of other times it happened, which is where I get challenged on the safety part, where it's like we are always safe. And there's a part of me that knows that, but there's a part of me that has been really afraid to be in life, because how do you stop that? Work has been right on time. Like I even see how for years I forced and pushed for my own enlightenment, even at 15, like just driving myself, because I felt like I knew, but it was like there was a very thick veil. And what I now can see through the power person dynamics, I was trying to drive myself into enlightenment because I knew at that age and even younger, that's why I was here. But there was like a process that I was unwilling to go through. And now this thawing, it's like, okay, we can do the process.
Yeah, you can't storm the gates. You got to work your way in. If you don't do the work that blocks it, and you just block the blocks, then you just can't go there. You can't force your way there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a process that you just have. One of the things that's occurred to me is it's almost like when you go in and start to do that inner work, it's like you've gone into the gym. And in the same way that, if you want to develop your physique, your physiology, you go into the gym and you lift weights and you challenge your physiology in that same way to build the mental, emotional, spiritual muscle means you go into the gym, and working through those generational patterns is,
Mm-hmm.
and the power person dynamics is the gym.
Mm. Okay, well, this is beautiful, and almost like a segue to what is transpiring right now, in that what comes to mind when you say that, it's like the healing is never done. And I've been working with somebody in inner child work, and love this left and right hand process of writing, because the work that I've done was more in meditation and just trusting the process of what comes up, and having spaces where I was able to be with it. And then also years where I wasn't, for whatever reason. And so I've been working with him for a year, and he came and did a workshop in my studio, and I had expressed my accountability part, that I'm recognizing my struggle to surrender to a masculine presence, and having defensiveness around women's wisdom, like somehow I have to protect that from men. And just
and certainly in a lot of life experience and the way this crazy world operates, that's justified.
Yeah.
It's a reasonable thing in certain contexts, not in the ultimate truth, but in the context of how insane this world has become. That's pretty much right on.
Yeah, well, thank you for understanding that part. Although I want to approach it differently now. I want to be able to offer what comes out in my flow of words, and then hold the space of love no matter what comes from that, instead of the defensiveness.
Right.
So I really am looking forward to that shift. But during his workshop, he had said, do this inner child work, and you will, this is the segue to higher consciousness and basically enlightenment. And I said, well, my experience, and I've hit periods of enlightenment that didn't I recognize that healing works in cycles and time spirals, and it's never done. And he jumped in and just said, I can't remember his words. I don't want to misrepresent what he was saying, like from my own
Right.
perception, because by then I was defensive. But essentially said, well, no, you do this work and you won't suffer anymore. And I'm like, and then my other friend Lindsay jumped in and said, well, he's been doing this for 30 years. And I was able to hold enough space for myself to go, to not say defensively, well, I've also been diligently working with this since I was 15, because I was able to hold my own validation of my own work.
Right.
Which really helped me recognize I'm not as wounded, feeling like I'm wrong all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That our journeys can all look very different, and that's okay.
Yes.
And
Make
so,
room for.
yeah. And so then he's wanting to have a conversation with me, and has already had one with Lindsay, and basically said, I don't want to, like, I need to know where you and Andrea stand with this, because this is the basis of my work, and I don't want you guys representing it if you don't agree with me. And I'm like, okay, so we meet today at 1, and I'm really working through my own defensive-ness and my own accountability to just be able to say, like, I'm in your reality. So I would offer to you your own exploration of, why am I in your reality saying this? And I can't just agree with somebody out of pleasing them.
Right.
When that has not been my experience of in this seeking journey of enlightenment, and healing is never done. And yes, do you have periods of time where there isn't suffering? And maybe you do get to a point where you don't go through suffering anymore. Maybe why this is happening again doesn't keep happening on these levels that you re-enter suffering. And that's fabulous if that's your journey. It hasn't been mine.
Right.
And I can appreciate that my generational line has carried intense density. Like, I can only imagine, which I believe we all do to different levels, as like Freemasons and people being involved in sick, twisted stuff, and gangs, and just like having this
Yep.
really difficult background. I know
Right.
I chose to come in on this line of deep dissonance and distortion because I was going to be this dedicated to this path.
Right.
And
Question.
okay.
Question to back up a little bit.
Okay.
So this circumstance, if I just describe what I heard, is there's a demand that you kowtow to a certain belief system or what have you in order to be acceptable or
Mhm.
included. And is that a reflection of a power person dynamic? Does that go back to your power person? If you're not willing to do this, then you're out of here.
Oh my God, 100%.
So that's if your meeting is at 1 o'clock today, that's where I'd be working. I'd dig out a worksheet and work on that, and maybe do the power person worksheet around this issue with your power person.
Okay.
That's probably where the root of the issue will get cleaned up for you, and then there'll just be clarity on what comes next in the conversation. Would be my take.
Okay. Thank you. That's really good direction.
Awesome. So can we support you in that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Where would you like to go with it?
I'm happy to follow any guidance around it.
Well, let's do a mini worksheet
Okay.
around whoever it was in your life that made that kind of demand of you.
Okay.
that, one of my takes is that no human being should ever have to live under threat, let alone a child.
Mhm.
And so if as a child there was this threat, if you don't do it my way, then it's the highway.
Yeah.
Then I'd put in, your name in the first blank.
Okay.
I, Andrea, whom love, am feeling, or my emotion. What's your emotional state in this? Is it fear? Is it frustration? Is it anger? What is the emotion?
Feels trapped.
Okay, so trapped would be a thought.
Okay.
So put that in D, the thought that causes this feeling or this emotion.
Okay.
So what's the emotional aspect of it? I have a thought that I'm trapped, and that creates a certain emotion. What is that emotion?
It would be pretty equal saying misunderstood, but maybe more so helpless, hopeless.
Okay. So that would go up in that first blank on what I'm experiencing as emotion.
Okay.
And even actually, as I think about it, as helpless and hopeless are again thoughts. I'm helpless. There's nothing I can do. That's a thought. Now, if I'm in helplessness, what's my emotion? Is it terror? Is it rage? What's the emotion?
Mm.
Because oftentimes, in order not, one of the games we play with ourselves, right up there with denial, is if there's something I don't want to experience in the way of an emotion, I turn it into a thought, and then I can play with it in my mind and do it intellectually and avoid experiencing what's really going on in me.
Okay.
So what's the emotion around that thought of I'm trapped and I'm helpless. There's nothing I can do.
Mm.
And hopeless would be in the same arena. That's again not an emotion, but a thought.
Okay. I'm just trying to go through some layers. It feels like really
Yeah.
rebellious. Um,
So probably the rebelliousness was what led to that kind of a conflict with your power person.
yeah.
So and one of the things I always do when I'm doing worksheets, I have a stack of at least a dozen blanks. And so when I touch into that idea of rebelliousness, then that isn't directly in this worksheet, I'd go and start another one. And
Okay.
the thought I need to rebel, I put that in 1D, and whatever the object of attention is at the moment, if it's power person, then just fill in the skeleton of what that worksheet's about, and then come back to this main one, and then when you're complete, then do that next one. And what I've
Okay.
found over the years is that when I do a worksheet, on average, I probably come up with another 4 worksheets from each one I do. And it
Mm.
opens up, hidden places. And that's the whole objective when you realize that these structures are generation upon generation upon generation. There are so many doors to be opened, and you can't open them all at once. You can just do them one at a time if you're going to effectively work through them.
Okay.
So once again, in this helpless, hopeless thoughts or thinking,
Mhm.
what is the emotion?
I would actually, I can see it. It's like rage.
Okay. So put the rage in there. So we're going to want to work through that, but then and recognize that rage is always a cover. We tend to be we're trained that rage is an emotion, and it kind of doubles as one. But the truth is, it's an anesthetic. It's an internally produced anesthetic that keeps us from feeling what we're pained about.
Okay.
And so there's a good chance as we go through this, you're going to have a whole layer that opens up.
Okay.
So then down to the punishment thought. What is it in this rage that you want to do to punish your power person?
I want to point out all the ways that they're wrong.
Okay. And is that replicated in this situation you've got a meeting about today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know you're on track. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll note that probably the dynamic from your power person was, as you were standing there pointing out what was wrong in them, they were standing there pointing out what was wrong in you.
Yeah.
And now you've got two healed minds each trying to convince the other they're to blame. Two people who are
Yeah.
committed members of the one world universal religion of blame, trying to convince each other that they're the ones that are wrong, when the truth is maybe neither of them is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a statement that Yeshua made 2,000 years ago, which says each person is justified in their own wisdom.
Mm.
And maybe your power person was perfectly right where they were, but them being right doesn't make you wrong.
Right.
And maybe you were perfectly right where you were, but you being right doesn't make them wrong. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the crazy things about this culture is, if I'm right, which, if each person is justified in their own wisdom, then every person is right from where they stand, but that doesn't make anybody else wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
just makes us right. But
Right.
when we go into making them wrong, and I'd suggest this would be a really good thing to pay attention to with this meeting you're having today and this particular person, is that if we determine that we're right, and then our mind automatically flips into making the other wrong, then what we do is we now engage in an energy that's off the mark, and we start creating from the position of wrong
Mm.
by blaming wrong on another. And the two of you can stand. Your power person could have stood with you, and or this person that you've got this situation going on could stand, each knowing I'm here. I am. I got this. I'm right on here. Oh, geez, so are you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in that way, you don't get into, by emotionalizing blame on another for being wrong, you don't get into creating from a wrong mindset.
I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
So punishment
Mm-hmm.
toward your power person.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do?
Sorry, I lost that for some reason.
What in this situation power person want to do? What you want to do? I think I've lost you. Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can. Perfect.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
I missed all that.
So what was your punishment thought toward them?
Just any way to make them wrong.
Okay. So then the sense, and I hear those words, but in order to really crystallize it, it sounds like maybe you would be willing to obliterate them.
Yeah.
I want to breathe into that one. And what was their punishment toward you?
The same thing.
Okay. And what was your punishment toward yourself?
The same thing.
Mm-mm. Well, that says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe a quick mind shifter to put in the equation at this point
Right.
would be, whenever people in my life are in error and pointing their hostility at me. It's safe and healing. Whenever people in my life are pointing their hostility at me, it's safe and healing for me to hold them in my heart in a gentle space of love.
It's safe and healing to
And the
hold them in my
beauty of
heart.
that is when to hold them in my heart in a gentle space of healing. And of course, the beauty of that is when you can give that to the so-called, what the mind would call the enemy, then you get to experience that gentle space of healing, because what you're offering to them, by offering it, goes through your field. You get to receive it. Where the world says, no, I need to beat up on them with equal force of what they're beating up on me. It's like, well, if you want to really experience a true beating, go ahead and beat up on somebody and you'll get the original of it. They'll get the carbon copy and may not accept it or may accept it, but the ultimate vision of this work is that no matter what happens in your world, you maintain your human life. You maintain yourself as the active presence of love. And you have the awareness that there is this uplink, there is this thing in the frontal lobes of the brain called Rachma, that you stay connected. You keep your human life in your physiology, whatever's going on out there. Because the only way you can lose your human life is by giving that up. You think about Yeshua, he comes out of the Garden of Gethsemane. He's just gone through a major healing crisis. His support team, the guys he's been working with full-time for 3 years, don't have a clue what he's doing. They go blotto unconscious. His first hour in the Garden of Gethsemane, he's like, hey, Father, can I pass on this? No, you're going to do it. An hour later, he goes out, hey, can't you guys stay awake? Can't you guys hold the space for me for an hour? No, they couldn't. They didn't have a clue what he was doing. They had no idea. And in fact, if you look at the words at the Last Supper, he's like, there's so many things I want to tell you, but you just can't hear them. And so to maintain your human life, first and foremost, is to give your physiology the gift of safety and security, even in the presence of the threat of even something like death. Yeshua comes out of the Garden of Gethsemane, and there's the high priest servant. There's Peter, and Peter's just whacked off the high priest servant's ear. And Yeshua turns to Peter and says, and if the world could only hear this message, Peter, if you live by the sword, you will die by the sword. The same sword you live by, whether it's your tongue or the violence you do to others with your fists or a sword, that's how you're going to die. You just created your own death process. What if you didn't ever attack another? What if you never, what would life be like if there was no capacity in you whatsoever, no matter who showed up, no matter what they showed up with, to do anything other than maintain your human life and hold a space of love? And that's exactly what Yeshua did. And, there's this whole big fairy tale that keeps people in fear about suffering. See, everybody get in on his suffering. That's the key to it all. It's like, that's not what he demonstrated. He came to show people, he, in that circumstance where the guy who's going to have him mercilessly slaughtered is injured, he does what anyone who maintains their human life would do. He looks at a human suffering and he offers support and healing. Now, people have said to me when they hear that interpretation, it's like, okay, that sounds good, Michael, but did you notice doing that got him dead? And I say, yes. Did you notice doing that, though it got him dead, they couldn't keep him that way? He came to show the power of maintaining your human life, of maintaining this opening in your own structure, regardless of circumstance, where you are there and you don't even have a capacity to attack left. And of course, the capacity to attack is something that needs to be forgiven. What's that do for your reading?
Can you say that once more?
Well,
Michael, are you driving?
no, I'm not. We're on the road. Jeannie's driving.
Oh, you're
Am
on
I
the road.
cutting in and out?
Yeah,
Yeah. Am I cutting out?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay, my apology. We are in a kind of a boonies area, so our signal might be a little weak.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose me, then please kick in and tell me. I'm at the point where I've got 2 bars left here, so hopefully we'll stay strongly connected.
Mm-hmm. So we can hear you now. Could you repeat what you
Good.
had said?
What was the last thing that you heard me say? I apologize for that disconnect.
You had talked about Yeshua and some flow of words around that, and then I think it feels like you were asking me something directly, but I'm not sure what.
Okay, so my question was, what would it be like if Andrea, no matter what she faced, had absolutely no capacity forever, whatever, for any form of anger or rage or attack?
Mm-hmm.
Just how would that change your life?
Yeah, so what I heard you saying was that if I had no capacity to produce rage or anger or emotions like that,
Right? What would your life be
and
like? How would it change?
well, in that couple of year period, it was bliss. It was this state of love for everything that was.
So was
And
it
so,
love for everything that was, as though love is a verb? Or was it that you were maintaining your human life and so you were experiencing life out of love? And therefore anything and everything you looked at was embraced in love.
yeah, like the only words I have is just all the only thing that was felt was love, no matter what was happening around me.
You got to taste your human life.
Yeah.
Now, what convinced you to give it away?
Um, I had a vicious, or I had an assault where I had a NDE, and it was with my ex, and it was so, I don't even know what happened. And then the car accident a couple months later, and a union that was filled with um, that so much came up in me. So it was those 3 events that were so big,
Mm,
and I couldn't. I don't know how I gave it up, but I just know that I became overwhelmed in fear because I felt like everything was so good. How could that happen?
right. I hear you. I can identify. I can remember my first opening experience that carried on for me for about a year. And it, I mean, I had a practice in South Florida at that time, and I was working with people. And after that opening occurred, I could go into a session, and somebody'd come in, and it'd be like, well, I went home and I shot the whole family and killed the dog, and then I went out and got drunk, and in that mindset, hearing that, it was like, yeah, okay, so now tell me something important. It was like everything of the non-being world was meaningless. And I recognize what you're saying because it took me about a year before any of the issues that I'd had prior to that opening experience had any meaning. Any of
Yeah.
the garbage So I hear you, and it sounds like you had a 2-year reprieve to just really marinate in a state of being, and then the next opening occurred for the next layer.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this situation that's going on now is just it's kind of like your refining process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, the refiner's gold is going through the fire in its purification process.
Okay. The one part that's really difficult to shake, and maybe you have a flow of words for this, was that in that beautiful state of being that was so consistent. I'm not saying that there wasn't ever emotions to process or anything, but it was just
Right.
moving through. There was no resistance.
Yep. There's the
And
key. There's the key. You dropped your relationship with Satan.
yeah.
Remember, in Aramaic, Satan means the resistor, one who misleads. It isn't some dude out there with a red suit, a tail, and a pitchfork. And most of us, literally in this culture, were trained from the very earliest days to live in the grip of resistance to
Yeah.
anything that we don't like. And
Yeah.
it's physiological. That's one of the things, I'm going to be excited when we get to do the quantum still point, because you're going to see some of that physiological resistance just melt.
Mm,
And
that would
that's
be amazing.
literally ultimately being freed from Satan, the real Satan, not the churchianity one, but the real one that grips people in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that would be amazing because I had so much life force available to me at that time. It was all beyond words, but just, being able to look back and reflect. And
I hear you.
everything was ease and flow, and it was so beautiful. And then when, I just went to bed one night and woke up in the middle of the night with my ex in my bedroom telling me I'm safe repeatedly, and then, assaulted me. And I get the replication that you now bring to my awareness, but in the deepest state of trust and surrender, to have that experience, it
Yeah,
rattled everything that
I
I
hear
had
you.
worked for.
Yeah.
And I remember when I had no breath um, from the choking, and I went into the void. I saw my spark of light from my heart center go out of my body, and I was in the void, and I was calling out to my higher identities and saying, like, come tell me why this is happening. I don't understand. And I remember getting this, like, my voice was kind of echoing and no one was coming and talking. And now I recognize it's all me, right? But at the time, I felt there was still some separation. And I just remember saying, I will not die like this. And feeling that choice to come back and being very um, autonomous to be able to make that decision, or sovereign might be more the word. But then when
Mm-hmm.
I got to come back, and the situation was complete survival, like a kid, all those tools came out, have to say the right things and do the right things to make this kind of somehow end. And, it definitely was a replication of childhood, um, and further. But I released or relinquished, or I just couldn't trust and be in that surrender anymore.
Yeah.
Because how could that happen?
And here's my offering there, is that at that moment, instead of turning to the presence of love, you turn to the non-being mind and try to figure it out. And you can't figure it out,
Okay.
but you can apply forgiveness. You can restore your breath. You can recapture your breath from that moment where you had no breath left. And recapture your breath and bring your breath fully into your body. And clear out the next layer of what was probably in what sounds like generational trauma. That this attack was significant enough to resonate. You know, how many generations do you suppose of women in our lives, if you look at the violence of history, have experienced that? You know, in our culture, we have a saying called the rule of thumb. And the rule of thumb comes from medieval England, where a man was allowed to beat his wife with a stick. The thickness of his thumb, that was the limit of it legally. It's like, talk about insanity.
Yeah.
So I join you in just gently breathing into your chest, into your throat, into anywhere that's physiologically tightened. And then take a look at what's the goal you held for your power person in this circumstance where there was such rage. And it sounds like it will very likely be the same goal that you had for your former during that attack. And it sounds like it may very well be the same goal that's still underlying the conflict that you're meeting about this afternoon.
Okay.
Does that fit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
So I want to acknowledge you for how powerful a creator you are, that over this long a period of time, you've been able to bring these circumstances back. And that it's time to open your breath fully and look at what is the goal that's driving this. So identify that and speak of or acknowledge your willingness to go through the physical, mental, emotional symptoms of healing and identify that goal. Go back to the original one with your power person.
Okay.
And what was it? So you're there in rage facing your power person, telling them how wrong they are. And they're there in whatever their punishment is, telling you how wrong you are. Blame facing off against blame. What did you want from them?
I wanted to be seen,
Yeah.
fully seen in the light of love, and I wanted to feel safe in that. Like safe to be able to be the love that we are.
Yeah. The sense I get is that perhaps it was for them to be big enough, like they're the adults in the room, for them to be big enough to open that space of love and embrace you.
Yeah.
It sounds like that fits with your former. It sounds like that fits with this current conflict, that if this person is the teacher that, proclaims to be, he should be big enough to embrace and move through rather than come into my office so I can determine whether or not you deserve to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. This is really, really helpful.
So let's go to the next step. So let's cancel your need for your power person to be big enough, but maybe simultaneously cancel your need for your former to be an actual man rather than having to resort to physical violence in order to get his way. And then with this teacher and being gentle in your heart as well. We're all human. One of the reasons we come together is to give each other opportunities to learn forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is the opportunity for you to step up to the plate and be the bigger one that holds the space for whatever needs to be healed for him. If something's up for him that needs to be healed.
Right.
Because we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
So how about just canceling your need for your power person?
Okay.
And allow yourself to breathe into that as you do. And note how you're feeling as you cancel that goal. What's happening?
It just feels like a release, like a
Good.
calmness in my torso.
Awesome. Good. Well, with that attack, that's awesome that your physiology is able to let go of your nervous system, probably making a shift out of sympathetic dominance into the parasympathetic state, which is going to give you more and deeper rest and healthier digestion, elimination, the whole functioning of your structure when you can let go of that fear-based grind in the physiology. Allows all of the higher centers to open up, the higher faculties of the mind. Everything opens up with that. So breathing with you into that.
Okay.
And as that happens, do any images come to mind, especially around your power person?
Mm-hmm.
Any awareness?
Yeah, I just see like a big grasping to feel somehow powerful, like just from feeling so wounded, like so powerless and in the pain and the suffering.
So the way that we give away our power, well, let me correct that. You can't ever give away your power. Everybody gets an equal amount of power. At your first breath, you got the same amount of power as Jesus Christ, as Mother Mary, as any guru or any teacher or anybody you've ever met. You got the same quantity of power. The way that what really happens is we don't give away our power, but we hide our power through blame. When I assign the creative action for what's happening here to you, and the you is a picture in my mind, then I lock my power into my brain's image of you, and that power is no longer accessible to me.
Mm.
When I apply forgiveness, breathe into that, and let that whole dynamic open, my power is yielded back up to me. I get to reclaim it. It's kind of like the thing when you play country music, you get your dog back, you get your farm back, you get your truck back. You get your power back when you let go of the blame with which you hid your power from yourself.
Mm.
So I join you in breathing into that. And out of that space of connectedness and love, can you look at your power person and out of that connectedness, embrace them?
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
And if you were to then set a goal toward them that is, frame and set a goal that's based in love toward them, that's based in this state of connectedness and being, what would that goal be?
For them to just see the love that they are.
Okay. So that would be something for them to do. But I think if you turn that goal around to that's something that you're going to do for them, that you're going to look for that in them, would
Okay.
be something that will empower you. And, remembering that a goal is something that's completed in the next 24 hours, it might mean picking up the phone and talking to them. It might mean I'll never talk to them again, but I will sit in a quiet space and connect to love and hold that in them and recognize our connectedness and oneness. It might be that I'm committed to sitting down and writing a note that includes the commitment to them. I may never send it, or I may send it. It doesn't matter. But what am I willing to do from a space of love toward my power person here? Because when I get, and it's interesting, the whole world, according to Yeshua, there's something that was called the first law. They asked, what's most important in the law? He didn't say love your neighbor. He didn't say love God. He said have Rahma. And Rahma is a condition in the frontal lobes of the brain, once again, where you stay connected to love, where love, it's a gateway that brings love into your physiology. And as you bring love into your physiology and your mind is on track with love, then you can extend or offer that space of love to them. So Rahma was the requirement for every human being. But then there were two people in the world that there was a different standard for. It wasn't just have Rahma for them. And the two people were father and mother. And what did it say? Honor. What is honoring? Honoring is bringing love into behavior toward them. And the them is usually father and mother, power persons. So the wisdom and intelligence of honoring father and mother, and this is a conversation I've had with many people over the years who've had a horrendous relationship with their parents. It's like, well, they don't deserve that, and no, I'm not going to do that. And it's like, wait a minute, it's not about them, it's not for them. Honor means to bring behavior towards someone from that space of love. And so that behavior might be no more than a thought. But when I can honor my power person, it's when I'm in relationship or when I'm thinking about or when I'm mentally or physically near to my power person that my power person dynamics come up. If I can source active present love toward them in that moment, that energy passes through my disease and I get to heal. That's the wisdom of that piece.
Yeah, it's interesting because as we've been going through this worksheet, at some point there was this very deep space that came, and what I could see was a scene playing out that is kind of non-specific, but it's still holding this power person dynamic with my mom raging and just losing it. And
Right.
what I could see in that situation, in many of the subtle energies that were happening, it was actually this long generational pattern that I played out, that then as a child, believing somehow I'm bad, defective, and wrong, but it was actually this
Power person message.
Yeah, but it was actually this domino effect of all these expressions I had had in other lifetimes as the ancestors, like as my line coming forward, still meeting up with me to say, I'm still here, let's do this. And when I got to just see that in this deep space, it feels like some new layers opened, and also this whole idea, this illusory idea that I'm wrong, bad, and defective is so untrue.
Nice catch.
And
That's the
even the
core power person
assault.
message.
Okay. But yeah, even the assault that I'm bringing up and the crash and stuff, this is like my idea that I thought I was safe reaching that space of just being so deep in the present moment. I thought I was safe from never having to experience those things again. But now I'm
Right.
understanding no, new layers open up to be able to face those patterns that I was a part of creating to clean it up now because of the
Exactly.
level of love that I'm holding in my
Yeah.
body.
Nice catch. Yeah. And there may be still deeper layers, but that doesn't mean you have to go out and create attack in order to clean up those deeper layers. Now you do it through willingness. Okay, I'm going to keep doing I'm going to open this up. If there's any more of this in here, I'm going to hold it without having to have any external stimulus whatsoever. I'm going to let willingness do this. I don't need to go back and do this again. And you don't. There is that law of karma. You're going to experience whatever's in the system. And anytime we choose to go into willingness, the law of grace takes over and erases the karma.
Okay.
And I'm an expert at that because I used to be a used karma salesman, so I know about that stuff. And so, if there are any other layers, just resolve now the depth of your willingness to allow whatever needs to come up, and to gently be able to hold it, acknowledge it, cancel the goal that drives it, let your perception collapse into it, and dissolve
Mm,
whatever it is. Whatever's gone on. It's time for that to happen for all of humanity
mm.
because we've been doing this other crap long enough.
Yeah, a woman to that.
Yeah.
It's so true.
And I certainly am here to hold the space for that. And I know, if you look at the rest of the family that's here on the show with you, we're all here to say rah rah. Yeah, we're willing, whatever you're willing to open for all of us. We're here to
Mhm,
support you and to do the same, to clean it up.
mhm. Yeah, thank you. This has been really powerful to be able to walk through the sheet with you and to bring to connect, to bring connection to all of these perspectives that are another perspective of the same goal. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Nice work. That's an awesome piece of willingness, and we certainly hold the space. And I'm sure everybody that's listening has had the opportunity to do lots of breathing through the process.
Mm.
And so deep appreciation and deep support. So if I look through the notes are just right there. Um, Go for it, Andrea. Amazing work. Kudos, Andrea. Gift to hear you work. Awesome. And Sally says, looking forward to meeting you at the intensive.
I look forward to it very much too.
Yeah. Well, gently breathing with you and holding the space for you to stand as a tower of being in this meeting today, and love, gentleness, and respect. And if there's any part of you that feels attacked in the process, that you're able to soften that and be the bigger part that keeps opening this space for healing to occur. It sounds like this fellow's doing some powerful work and has been a big contribution in your world, and so maybe you can bring another level of contribution to his, and everybody opens up on another level.
Yes, thank you for that perspective. I appreciate that.
Sweet. All right. Well, no, we'll be holding the space for you. And my goodness, it's 1:00. Any other thoughts?
Not from me, no, thank you.
Okay, well, let's just check in with everybody else and just see if anybody has any thoughts or questions that need to come into the space. Anybody with anything to share, just hit your mute button.
I tell you, got about a half a dozen notes from this little interaction. I appreciate you guys so much. There's so much stuff on this right on track for me, and such deep connections. I can really, we'll go into it on another show, another time. And it's just really beautiful, powerful, lots of good stuff. Thank you guys both. That's what I want to say right now. Thank you both so much.
All right, Terry, thank you for saying thank you. Everybody else, create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world, and we'll look forward to playing on Monday. Blessings. Bye-bye.